Another unprecedented event in the real estate world. And he turned off that music quick, man. He was on it. He was on it. So this week, we're going to be talking about the most unaffordable housing market since 1984. We're going to be talking about what happened with the Fed and the interest rates. And we're going to be talking about something that I saw on TikTok. It's, there's always a war of generations on who had it worse when it came to, affording life. And somebody actually did the math on it. And they're comparing cost of living when some of the baby boomers were growing up to the cost of living today. So we're going to take a look at that, and you guys can give me your opinion. So we got lots of things to cover. We have no guests today. It's just moi. And then of course, when we go through the articles, you're more than welcome to ask any question you have about real estate. All you have to do is type in the word question first and then follow that up with the question that you may have. It makes it much easier for the moderator in the back, who is Eddie Smallhorn, my main squeeze, who will put it up on the screen. I want to tell everybody I had a wonderful birthday. Thank you so much last week for all the birthday wishes. It was really lovely to see all of that. And I want to share one thing before we get started in the article. So my husband bought something that I thought was the dumbest thing that I've ever seen in my life. Now, this is totally not sponsored or anything, but it was basically this thing that like heats up your milk. It's not a steamer. It just like froths up your milk, heats it up just a little bit, and then spins it around and makes it kind of like a whipped milk. And I thought, well, that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. He's like, it's really good for hot chocolate. I'm like, I drink hot chocolate twice in my life, like in a year. In a year, I'll drink it maybe twice. So anyways, I decided to give the whole thing a whirl without him even looking, right? So I fill up my thing and I warm up the milk on the hot chocolate setting and I dump it in my tea. I'm now obsessed. I am completely hooked. So every time you see a tea now on me, I have this whipped warm milk. It's so snotty, so pretentious. So that's my new favorite thing. I don't know where. I think he got it. I think he saw it on TikTok. I think that's where he saw it. They're so good. Anyways, all right. Oh, is that it, Eddie? How much was that thing? Oh, it's only $24. Yeah. Well, if anybody wants it, go ahead and put a link in the chat, Eddie. Put it in the chat and they can put 40th, add 15 years to that. So he's a happy 40th. Yeah, add 15 years to that. Hope 40th. Yeah, happy from Boston. Hello from Boston, Eddie in the chat. Hello from Boston. Yep, that's my old stomping grounds, if anybody doesn't know. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into the first article, Eduardo, talking about the least expensive, the least affordable, I should say, least affordable housing market since 1984. Everybody knows though, like anybody that's been watching this show for a hot minute, we know it's unaffordable and it's been unaffordable. And I've been sounding the alarm about this since before the pandemic, and the pandemic made it like 10 times worse. Economists always like to say it's because that interest rates make homes more affordable. And in some cases, yes, that it makes sense because the interest rates go down, right? But in other cases, let's just put this in perspective. The average home across the United States, if you take all the houses across all the states, and it will be the cost will cost you over $400,000. If the interest rate goes down to, let's just say 4, how many people, not many, I'm going to tell you right now, how many can actually afford a $400,000 house, even at let's just say 3% or 5% interest rate? Most people are living off the payment, and those payments are going to be way too expensive for a lot of people. Over $2,700 for a lot of people is a lot of money, and they can't afford it. So anyways, this is the latest affordable housing market since least affordable. God, I cannot get my stuff together. Least affordable housing market since 1984, and it's getting worse. I got this from CNN. Not that I'm a big CNN. It just happened to come up on my feed when I was going through the news. And now takes nearly 41% of the median household monthly income to cover the principal and interest payments on the median price home, according to research from the Intercontinental Exchange. And it comes at a time that uncomfortably high prices after a bout of the worst inflation in a generation. Housing is eating up a bigger parts of paychecks, including gas, groceries, and other loan prices are sky high. Talk to somebody who has a student loan. See, I never had a student loan, so I didn't know how they worked, and I didn't understand why people were whining about them so much. So when you get a student loan, when you start paying it back, it's based on the salary that you get, right? So a lot of people were making those minimum payments in order to survive, right? So let's just say they've been paying for 10 years the minimum payments. It works much like a credit card, right? So if you only make the minimum payments, you're never even hitting the actual balance. This lady had been paying for 10 years. $84,000. I'm sorry. She borrowed $64,000 and she owes $72,000 after 10 years because she only made minimum payments. Like, oh, there has to be a better system with student loans. Anyways, housing now takes up the biggest chunk of paychecks since 1984, according to ICE, the owner of the New York Stock Exchange. That's up 0.4% from last month, and reports which will also show American homes were the least affordable in 39 years. We all know that everything's unaffordable right now, including housing. Even rents. It doesn't even matter if you're getting a mortgage or not. Rents are even high. Says wannabe home buyers are getting hammered by painful combination of high mortgage rates and high home prices. The 1-2 punch has pushed the principal and interest payments needed for the median price home up about $144 just over the past month. The monthly payments are above $2,500. Yeah, they're $2,700 right now. And that doesn't even include insurance, taxes, and other fees. Oh, and don't forget your HOA fees on top of that. I'm filming a video tomorrow about HOAs. Man, those HOAs are going crazy. I got off topic. Sorry. The problem is pushing the American dream further from reach for the prospecting first-time home buyers, and they've been forced to rent instead, delaying the ability for building wealth through home ownership. After 7 consecutive weekly increases, the 30-year fixed-rate mortgage did dip to 7.6% this week, ending in November 2nd, according to Freddie Mac. That's miles away from the pre-COVID 3.8% in the fall of 2019, aided by emergency action by the Fed. Mortgage rates briefly tumbled to 2.7% in late 2020 into 2021. Higher mortgage rates can go less. The more higher mortgage rates go, the less people can afford. But let's just put it this way, though. I mean, we've had such a shortage of supply. You would think that, and this is how it's always been, if mortgage rates go high, home prices come down, and they haven't been coming down. I have seen, though, and I want to point this out to everybody, that in a lot of areas, there's been a lot more homes hitting the market. And don't take this as, oh my gosh, it's crashing, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on, because this is the time of year that if you are looking for a home and then it does seem like there's an increase in supply and there isn't anything moving, and a lot of buyers don't buy during this time and a lot of sellers don't sell, but some of them have to. This is the best time for you to get a better deal where they're more negotiable in some of those areas. I'll tell you this too. So I'm in a lot of real estate groups, and the real estate agents are sweating. I'm not gonna lie. Like some of them were like, so, like I just having a hard time this year. I'm not making the numbers that I did last year. Like what's your side hustle? The people wanting to know what their side hustle is. So when your real estate agent's selling Scentsy candles, there's something on the horizon. Something feels different. There's no data for me to back any of this up, but I'm literally watching all these real estate groups. And a lot of real estate agents are definitely sweating. The conversation is changing, and they're not finding the buyers, and there just isn't a lot of inventory out there. So they're like, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? It's interesting. It's going to be 2024 is going to be really interesting. This is just my feeling. I'm not going by anything. My feeling is that things are going to change next year. I think we're going to see some home prices dip in some areas, unless there is not a lot of construction in that area. If there isn't, they'll just stay stagnant. They'll really stay stagnant, especially if interest rates continue to go down, because there are people that are sitting on the fence. So Anyways, the higher mortgage rates go, the less that people can afford. Today's rates I already read that part, Eddie. Well, let's just say that. Let me just tell you this. Now, today's rates, monthly payments on a $500,000 would stand roughly around $3,265 after putting down 20%. That's $1,165 more than it was 2 years ago when mortgage rates were barely above the threes. So, you know, I don't, who can afford that though? Like, honestly, $3,265. That's just the mortgage payment. Then you add the taxes on top of it. And we all know that we all know insurance rates are going up, right? Your insurance rates are going up, your taxes are going up, and you have this explosive payment. I mean, these people that are affording these houses are like freaking Mr. Moneybags. I can't afford this stuff. I know. I'm just like, I'm not faulting people. Oh, thank you, this kid. This kid just said they like my new hair. I got a new hairdo. That was the other birthday present I got from Eric. My husband Eddie said that I could get my hairs did, and he made an appointment for me, and I got my hair did. Thank you so much. So, anyways, if you guys are seeing things differently in your area, if you feel like you're seeing more for sale signs and things aren't moving on the market, let me know in the comment section below, because not in the comment section below. I'm so used to saying that in videos, in the chat, because I'm interested to see what you say, because it is very apparent that homes are super unaffordable. In the most rural areas, people will tell you like the incomes do not match the median price of a home. Like, I don't know how many, like, it was a big meme there for a hot minute that real estate agents would post like a little tiny shack of a house, and they'd say, for sale, only accepting cash offers, $320,000. And it was like basically a done up outhouse. It had to stop. The house of cards has to come down soon, because it's just too unaffordable. House pricing is a quagmire. That is true. I love that word, quagmire. It's a great word. This kid says realtors need to speak with rental property managers to bring down rents, so housing market will lower enough for affordability. So I see what you're saying, but the market dictates the price. So if let's just say the new apartment complex that was built down the street is saying that a 3-bedroom apartment is $1,500, that usually means that the home prices, like just regular standing homes that are not in an apartment complex, can ask a little bit more, because you're getting more of a house and a yard. So that's pretty much where they fall in line. The other thing that was promised to us 2 years ago was that they were going to start doing more multifamily construction to help with home affordability and rents. So all these, companies, they got these great incentives to build apartments to help with affordability. The thing is the apartments that they built were luxury apartments that did nothing for affordability. It feels so weird right now, because we have it's like two sides of a coin. We have the haves and the have-nots, the people that can afford this life and be totally fine, and the people that are truly struggling. And, all these things that were promised to help people that are really struggling right now have done nothing. They're hurting people, because nothing has panned out what they said it was going to. So it's frustrating, very frustrating. In some areas, I have seen rents come down just a scotch, but it's that time of year right now that rents aren't as necessarily as high as they normally would. The higher they are is usually in the spring, but because of the fact that we're in the fall into the winter months, getting into the holidays, you usually do see a little bit of a drop in rents, but I haven't seen anything significant anywhere. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. If someone can tell me if they've seen drops in rents in their area. Pooh's Blessery Day. And I thought my old mortgage of $1,560 was outrageous. My first mortgage was $1,230. And I literally thought I was going to have a heart attack. because I didn't this is, I didn't understand, because when I saw it, my house payment was supposed to be only $823. And I'm like, oh, that's not bad. That's going to be really good. Cause my rent at that time was $1,000. And then once they factored in the taxes and the insurance, and it was $1,230, I literally was like, oh my God, I was so scared. I was so scared. I didn't know, like, when you're young and you get your first house, people don't really explain things like they should explain things. And this was pre-internet, so it wasn't like anything I could just, look up on the screen. I mean, maybe the internet was there, but it wasn't as accessible as it is today. That's for sure. All right, this is insane. I get paid $21. I get paid $21, and he can barely make ends meet. It's not housing, it's everything inhumanely high. I can't even survive by ourselves, and we need to end up renting a room. And you know what's even crazier about renting a room? So some areas around the United States have made it a law that you cannot rent out a room. You can rent out your house, but you're not allowed to rent out a room. They've done it in several cities. I don't know how they monitor that or police that, but they've said that you can't, you'll get fined, and you can get like a tax lien or is it some kind of tax lien on your house if you rent out rooms instead of renting out the whole entire house. Crazy times. Lawnmower wants to let you know that the cup that I'm drinking from, this gigantic cup that I'm drinking from, is not, it's just normal size. He says it is 24 ounces. It's a 24 ounces coffee cup. You can get it on Amazon, and actually there is an affiliate link in the description. I don't have my own personalized coffee mugs, but I do have an affiliate link to this exact cup. This exact one. It's awesome. It does keep your coffee warm, but mine's tea. Somebody said something that is interesting. Said Long Journey says HOAs are BS. I'm not going to argue with you. In a lot of cases, just recently, some HOAs have really, really stepped up their game of fining people. And basically, I don't know if you guys know this, but an HOA can foreclose on your property if you don't abide by their rules. And they make they're supposed to notify you, but they make it very sneaky on how they notify you. And many HOAs have acquired houses from the neighborhood for like basically like a couple $100, and they own the house, and then they evict the people that live there. I mean, it is crazy to me, crazy. And that's why I'm always really nervous too when people say, oh, I saw this company that's offering land leases on their houses. Like, you own the house, but they own the land lease for 100 years. And that's how you're going to purchase the house, and it will make it less expensive for you. The thing is that anytime they can decide to take that back from you, they could file some paperwork. They own the land and evict you if you're leasing land and have a house on it. It's a new thing that they're offering to make home prices more affordable, but you're not winning on that. You're just making a payment on a mortgage to somebody else, and the land that you have the house on, at any time, for any reason, those people could come up with a way to foreclose on you. So just be very cautious of that. Urban Van Life says beans on toast is taking over the the selling market. There's a little inside joke I want to share with you. My friend Neil and his girlfriend Emma, they are from England, and they were talking about beans on toast, which I thought sounded foul. And so we went and got some English beans on toast, and it's actually delicious. I hate to admit it. It's actually very good. So it is very good. I will say that HOAs they have their place, and they can help you in many ways. When I lived in a neighborhood, and I've told you this before, I lived in a neighborhood that did not have an HOA when I first moved here. And when we had neighbors that would park their RV in the road where the kids couldn't even ride their bikes down the road. We had kids that would park their cars on the grass in their front yard. We have people that have boats out in the front of their house. We have people, I mean, it got so junky looking. And I'm like, these are nice houses. And they just all look like garbage because of the fact that people are allowed to do whatever they want. And just, there is no standard. There's no, you would think there would be some courtesy if you have a junky, nasty looking boat that you at least put it behind some kind of like tarp or something. And they wouldn't even do that. So, I mean, I couldn't wait to sell that house. I could not wait. Bob Corin says, what is your thoughts on the commission issue? So, let me give everybody a little backstory on this. So the commissions commissions are on the line in a recent, God, I cannot talk today. In a recent lawsuit, the National Association of Realtors, I believe it was Remax, Keller Williams, and one other big brokerage firm was sued, saying they colluded with one another to make for fixed commission rates. And the sellers didn't feel like it was fair that buyers didn't have to pay the commissions, that it came out of the seller's proceeds. They lost that case. It ended up being $1.7 billion. My thoughts on it are this. They have now, because they won that case, have gone across the country and are doing class action lawsuits. It's going to take some time, but there's going to be absolutely no doubt in my mind that the way that the purchase agreements work and disclosures work and addendums work from here on out will look completely different in the next year coming up, no matter how these lawsuits play out. It will be interesting to see how it all falls into shape, because there's another lawsuit out there that's claiming almost the identical opposite, where buyers are selling the sellers agents and they colluded. So we have a long way to go to see what really happens, what plays out. But there's going to be absolutely no doubt in my mind that all of this will change. How commissions are paid out, who's paid out, who's paying what and where and when is all going to change. And it may not necessarily be a bad thing. Maybe some real estate agents may not like it, but all good things always have to change. Urban Van
Super chat, thank you.
Urban Van Life with
Super chat, thank you.
Man, that thing's loud. So with the $10 super chat says, for more beans, because we love those the bones of you. Yep. Thank you so much. He wants me to have some more beans. We're going Friday. We're going Friday to get more beans from World Market. They have to be these specific Heinz beans, apparently. And that's the only ones that are like considered UK British beans, I guess. I don't know. The kids like it. Apparently we have to try it on a potato now. Somebody says Kristina is the actual size of an elf and the coffee cup is a teacup. If you don't know, I'm only 5 foot. Like, I'm just like a scotch, just a little fragment over 5 foot. Well, my kids are taller than me. Yep. We got a question that came in. It says, is it possible to get a HELOC if your home is paid off? I can't see why you couldn't. It is possible to get a HELOC of a home equity if your home is paid off. But deciding whether to do so is likely depends on your financial situation and goals. Borrowing from your home can come in handy if you need the funds, but can't. But it comes with a cost and the risk of your loan. Yeah. So I would always say this. If you're thinking about a HELOC, meet with a financial advisor to find out if that is something that's right for you. My husband and I have had a HELOC on our homes. We've always had HELOCs on our homes because you never know what's going to come up. And it's like, you might as well be able to have the ability to tap into your equity of your home for any reason whatsoever. We've never even used it. Never, not once. But it's there just in case. And the cost to set up a HELOC is very minimal. I mean, I think we had to pay for it. This was years ago. We had to pay for an appraisal. And yeah, I don't remember what else. But I think everybody should have a HELOC. You don't have to use it. Just have it just in case. Because you never know. You never know. Sofa says, looking at getting a single family rental next year, doing all cash out refi when on an existing rental to fund the new property. Do you think the Fed will continue to raise rates? Well, they said they're just pausing it right now. That this was just a pause until they decide to raise it again. I mean, he never gave the impression that he was looking to bring down rates anytime soon, but he was just giving us a little break for a hot minute before he raises them again. I definitely think he's going to raise them again. Just it's a question of when's the next time he's going to boost it up. Question: I have an assumable VA mortgage at a 2.37% interest rate. $380,000 balance with $450,000 now. How does it work as a selling feature? So you would have to find a buyer that had about $130,000 cash to put down, not put down, but basically give to you for the leftover balance that would be the cost of your house, because you owe $380,000. The house is worth $450,000. So the actual buyer would have to come up with the remainder out of their own pocket to pay you for that overage, right? And then they could assume the $380,000 at that 2.37%. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm really not in this market. I've seen more cash fly across the tables than I've ever seen in my life in the last 2 years. And matter of fact, there was a recent report that says cash buyers are buying up houses more now than ever because the interest rates are so high. They have the cash and they want to buy a house. So they're just going ahead, buying it cash. And they said, well, we'll finance it once the rates go down at a level that we're willing to finance it. I wish I had another $480,000 cash just to buy a house on a whim. But, there are people out there. It's appealing to people that have cash. And at that price point, if you're at $450,000, it's very possible that you could find a buyer that's able to come up with that $130,000 or $40,000 out of their own pocket. I'm not saying it's impossible. That is an appealing rate that you have, and it would be something that somebody would really want to absorb as far as a cost. Yeah. So let's just put it that way. Noreen says, in Central Florida, apartment rents came down a little bit in October. Lots of places were offering 1 month for free, and the prices have gone back up again. Yeah, so that's it's pretty common. So if you are near in Central Florida, there's all sorts of colleges and stuff. There's Full Sail and all that. Well, once they got all those kids in there and the kids are all settled in, and then they have all these apartments, they're like, oh my gosh, they're not filling up. So they offer, just like home builders, an incentive to move in. The best incentive I've ever seen was you got your first month rent, your last month for rent for free. And then it was half a deposit. It was oh my God, that was the best. Eddie and I years ago got into a really exclusive apartment complex. That was amazing. I was so excited. And then they gave you it was an extra parking space. I was so excited about this place. Now, it was great. It was on the 3rd floor, but worth walking up those steps to have that amazing apartment. Derek Gonzalez said, I've heard that every 1% increase of rates means a 10% decrease in prices. What happened to that rule? Lack of supply. The reason that home prices have remained the same, even gone up in many areas, is that we've had a lack of new construction across the United States. Some people don't want to blame it on that, but it's true. They have not been building the same amount of homes they had been building years ago. Not as many people are selling now either, because why would you want to give up your 2.5 or 2.8% interest rate to get into a bigger home? We're going to have to pay almost 8% for the new house. That's even more expensive than it was 2 years ago. And your home, your taxes are going to be higher and your insurance is going to be higher. That's a big chunk of people's money just to have a bigger house. So they feel locked in. Why aren't they going to go anywhere? So that has crippled supply across the United States. Somebody called it golden handcuffs, which I never had heard that before. That was new to me. So yeah, that's what's going on. That's why the home prices haven't tanked the way that a lot of people predicted they would have. It didn't happen. Deborah Brady says, Kristina, a Brit said that you just used the Boston baked beans from the can and beans over toast, but theirs is less sweet and less porky. Yeah, these do not taste the same as our beans here. I'm telling you, these are different. They're very, very different. The English beans have a lighter sauce. They're less sweet, and they're not like, we have like almost like a smoky flavor to our beans. These do not have that. You'd have to try them. They're Heinz beans. They're in a blue can, and it's like an English thing. I was very leery. Not gonna lie. Oh, somebody asked me to marry them. That's the first time that is. I have been on YouTube. I've uploaded my first video in 2017. I have never been asked a marriage proposal. I've been asked all sorts of other things, but nobody's ever asked me to marry them. Unfortunately, I hate to tell you this, I'm already married to a man, and I've been married to him for how long? Is it 22 years, Eddie? Is it 22 years? I think so. Yeah, I think it's 22 years. Maybe it's 24 years. I don't know. All I know is we're happily married. We've been married since the dawn of time, and I don't remember my life without him. I don't remember what it was like before I had met Eddie. I know I wasn't really happy.
Try 25.
25 years. Oh, yeah. Do you know that both of us, we are so, like, dates mean absolutely nothing to us because we're just happy. That when it was our 20th anniversary, my daughter mentioned it a month later. They go, when is your wedding anniversary? I'm like, oh, it's November 21st. And like, we both like, oh, we forgot our 20th anniversary. Both of us went whoop, right over our heads. So anyways, that has nothing to do with real estate. We'll move forward. All right, Eddie, pull up the next article, if you could, please. You look great for being married that long. I think it's having kids. I think kids keep you young. Yeah, so it looks like this was a attention grabbing headline because I had to laugh, and it said mortgage rates plunged to the largest amount in a year. And this is true. They did have a dip, but they're still really, really expensive. I mean, we're not seeing fives. That's what we really need for interest rates to be really good, in the fives. All right. It says mortgage rates tumbled this week to the biggest 1 week drop since November. The 30-year fixed rate mortgage fell to 7.5 in the week ending of November 9th from 7.76. Saw the other day, I saw it just under 7.5 for a hot minute, and then it went right back up again. But if you locked in, good on you. A year ago, the 30-year fixed mortgage was 7.08, the highest level since 2022. The following week dropped 47 basis points. This week saw a drop in basis points from last week. As the Treasury yield declines, the 30-year fixed rate mortgage dropped 0.25%, the largest 1 week decrease since last November. And I knew it was going to drop. I didn't know how long it was going to drop. As soon as he said they were pausing rates, I knew that we were going to see mortgage rates go down a little bit, which is always a good thing, especially when you're looking for a brand new home. We'll see what happens next week. I don't know if it will go down much more than 7.5 until they meet again. They might tease us for a hot minute. Maybe we'll get to 1.3%. But if you're in the market to buy a house right now, I have noticed that a lot of new home builders are concerned, and they need to get their inventory off their books for 2024. So right now they are offering interest rate buy downs. They are offering more incentive packages. They're offering no closing costs. They are really offering the sun, moon, and stars. You're going to get in a lot of areas, especially if you have new construction, you're going to get a lot better deal than you would on an existing home. you're going to have to weigh out the pros and cons of that in your own mind. Can you deal with a smaller lot, or, do you really want an older kitchen? You're going to have to weigh that out for yourself. But the incentives from home builders right now are so good. They're so sweet. And if you're looking to buy and you have the ability to buy right now, definitely look at new home construction. It's this is the one time that you can really like count on getting a good deal, because they want to get off their books. They don't want it there. Just FYI. If you have any questions, make sure you put in the chat. Just put the word question first so Eddie can find it and put it up on the screen for me. Because I'm not looking at the chat over here as much as I would love to. I just can't read that and then talk to the camera at the same time. So Mary says she has a question. Actually, I have a big for your information. I wanted to send you pics of a huge consistent developments, expansions, and construction in Charleston, South Carolina metro area. A new home is more modest neighborhood is $400,000. That's typical though. $400,000 for the average home across the United States is pretty typical. Now, I will say this, because I just was listening to a guy named Bill Olson. He has a channel, and he's in Charleston, South Carolina. And he said that the home builders are giving more incentives. They are giving more incentives in that area. So if you're in Charleston, go look up Bill Olson, because he knows the inside scoop on it. He knows the inside scoop. Annie says HOAs are insane. Bought in Cape Coral. We jokingly call it the city of HOA. They have assessments on your taxes, and so here we are. You know what? Like, the intrusiveness of HOAs has become alarming. And most neighborhoods in the United States are run by HOAs. Now, back in the day, let's talk about 1984, matter of fact. Back in the day, HOAs were run by the homeowners. Like, the homeowners would have a meeting. They would all have discussions. They would have a vote at that meeting, and then things would get done. And those assessments and everything else were done at the meetings by the HOA people, all the people that lived in the homeowners association. It's always been a thing. Then, as we got more modernized, in order to not create bad blood between neighbors, HOAs started turning over their covenants and everything else to companies to manage the HOAs. And those management companies are the ones have really taken it over the edge. I mean, some of them are absolutely insane. And what they charge is really gross, honestly. And I think with some neighborhoods, it's out of laziness that we can't manage them. Our neighborhood took back our HOA. We had a management company, and we took it back because the management company that we had hired were jerks. They were terrible. And so we were like, nope, we're not going to do it anymore. We're not paying these people because they would give these weird invoices for the cutting the grass for the front. It's like, why is that costing us $4,000 when it literally takes them 5 minutes? So yeah. And then there was all these other kinds of weird fees that ended up on there. And they're like, oh, that's administration fees. Yeah. But anyway, moving forward, Peter says, question, do you have any predictions on many real estate agents will renew their license? Oh, I'm going to tell you this right now. So this is renewal season. And I've seen more posts saying they're not going to renew. I actually got a message from somebody that said, I gave real estate the good old college try, and I did pretty good this first year, but my second year I'm not doing good, and I'm just going to go ahead and pull my license. And I'll tell you this, for some real estate agents, it's not about the market. It's not about the market. It's about them marketing. And they didn't have a marketing plan to begin with. And then when times got tough, they don't know what to do. They're scrambling. They got they're like chickens with their head cut off. Like, the phone's not ringing. The phone's not ringing. Well, it's up to you to make that phone ring. What are you going to do? So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot less people renewing their license. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe they had no business being a real estate agent to begin with. I'm just saying what a lot of people are thinking. Oh, someone's gonna go buy one of my giant teacups. Their description, there's an affiliate link in the description. Alex with a $20 super chat. Thank you so much.
Super chat. Thank you.
If the housing market makes 40% of CPI inflation, are new buyers in the Fed in an impossible situation? If the Fed lowers the rates, housing prices are going to go up, and that's going to drive up inflation. And that's, I don't know if you guys know who Barbara Corcoran is. She's the one that's on Shark Tank. And she said the worst thing that could happen right now is if mortgage interest rates went into the fives, because it's going to start a whole frenzy all over again. And the one thing I can say that has remained the same through every housing market that I can even think of right now in the United States is that if your house was below the median price of a home in your specific area, your house was still flying off the market. It was still flying off the market. That happens to be the most affordable homes, which most first-time home buyers are looking for. This is the biggest problem, is that the most affordable homes are getting scooped up so fast, and they're still continually going up in price. Those homes in the higher end market are, they're taking a little bit longer to sell. Just recently, they haven't been, but for a while, they were taking a lot longer to sell because not many people could afford those type of homes. But people that were looking for a house at the median price or below, they were still having a hard time finding anything. So then a bunch of people sat on the sidelines, and they're like, well, I'm going to wait for interest rates to go down. Well, while they sat on the sidelines waiting for interest rates to go down, those prices continued to go up. If we see interest rates in the fives again, and I agree with Barbara Corcoran on this, it's going to be a frenzy all over again of people trying to get into their very first home. And it sucks because they just didn't. The one thing that we've been missing in the housing market for the last 10 years are those smaller, more affordable homes. And they haven't done it. And that makes me very sad. Very, very sad. Johnny O with $100 super chat. Wow. Thank you so much. I appreciate you jumping in here and giving me $100 super chat. That is very kind of you. Johnny likes to come in here every once in a while and smile upon us with a nice super chat. Johnny, if you have any questions about your real estate market in your area, please go ahead and put in the chat, and we will put you right up on the screen and with your question. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Sorry, I had a little sustenance, a little caffeine there. Mary says, question. Do you see recollections of 2008 mortgage fiasco where buys ended up having to pay someone to buy their homes and settle bloated loans? The difference today with the loans that were available back in 2008 and then the loans that they're offering today. So they used to do those interest only, or they had all these crazy type of loans, and they were basically giving loans to anybody that could sign their name and had a social security number. It was really crazy. Not only that, they were allowing people to buy multiple homes that had no business to be doing that. And then people walked into some of these lenders, and they said, I'm not sure if we can afford a home. This is all we can afford. They're like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll do this interest only loan. You'll have to pay that. And then in a couple of years, you can refinance. Well, then mortgage rates went up and they couldn't afford it. And then they lost their job. Today, what you have to go through to get a home mortgage is excruciating. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. But there's a good reason for it, because they don't want a repeat of what happened last time, where a lot of people had to do short sales and, go through that whole entire process. I don't see it getting to that point. The only way I can see it is if people start losing their jobs. If people start losing their jobs, they're going to be more likely to have to sell their home or lose their home because they don't want to sell it, so they'll let it go back to the bank. That's going to be the only time that we're going to see, that I can see, we see a wave of foreclosures. So I don't see it as the same kind of loan fiasco that we had in 2008, where they were basically, social security number and a working telephone number, then we'll give you a loan. I don't see that is not the case today. The buyers that are qualified to get a loan are very qualified. It's just not the same situation. Interesting question. Good question. Thank you. All right, here we are. Pooh's Blustery Day says, beans, a magical fruit. The more you eat, the more you sing a song about beans. XXXX says, question, own a studio co-op in New York City, paying off mortgage, monthly maintenance is $429. 43 have $30,000 HELOC. Owning an investment property is $1,400 a month. Your thoughts on buying a 1-bedroom primary? I have to know what all your other financial situation is and where you're buying this 1-bedroom primary, and I'd have to see the whole thing. Like, it's a good question, but there's a lot of information missing. Whenever you're looking at any piece of property, whether you're investing your own money or not, like, where's the location of this? What's the history of that area? Is it a declining area? Did it only go up during the pandemic? What is your other financial situations? What is your other debt to income? Even though you have a HELOC, does you have other debt to income ratio that would throw things off? Will you be only using your HELOC to buy this house? I mean, there's 1,000 things before I would ever say, yes, go ahead and buy one, or no, don't you buy one. So I would suggest going ahead and meeting with a financial advisor or a lender to go over your options to find out if that's a good deal. And not only that, with the rental that you're thinking about, find a real estate agent to run the numbers for you on that. Somebody said Eddie's a lucky man. I don't know. Some days I bet you he's not thinking he's too lucky. I know I'm annoying. I know I'm obnoxious. Poor Eddie. Not knowing how many years you've been married is a tell. What's the tell? I don't know. We just pay, like, all the days run together. I never, like, there's certain things that I always say I'm not a real girl. Like, I hate Valentine's Day. I think it's stupid. When I met him, I'm like, please don't ever give me a Valentine's Day gift. Don't do it. I think it's the dumbest holiday on the planet. And he said, are you serious? I'm like, if you want us to break up, you'll get me a Valentine's Day present. I think it's dumb. Don't do it. So we've never even celebrated Valentine's Day. It's so dumb. Yep. Yeah, you look great for being married so long. That's so funny. Yeah, our wedding anniversary is coming right up. And do you know what I bought my husband? This is the loving gift that we got after 25 years of marriage. This is the gift that we got each other. You guys are ready for this? It is so romantic. We got a litter robot for our cats. A litter robot. Isn't that oh, Eddie's going to even show it to you. Hold on. Let me put it up on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and put it. Oh, there it is. Look at that. A litter robot. That's what we got for our wedding anniversary. So much romance and love there. Why are we talking about little robots? This is about the real estate market. Eddie, I want you to go ahead and put up that next story that I showed you from TikTok. So there is a war on TikTok between generations. Everybody loves to start their videos on TikTok with, like, the younger generation doesn't know blah, 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 or the boomers don't know blah, 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 or, Gen Z doesn't know. It's so stupid. So stupid. But one of the things that I found interesting, because I always find this interesting, is how the cost of living, and that goes right in with the line of, 1984. It costs a lot more today to live than it did in 1984. Eddie, do you have that? Oh, look at here. In terms of risk and cumbersome paperwork, how is it easy or hard for a seller to offer financing? That would depend on the state that you live in, Alex. That would depend on the state that you live in. Owner financing is always different in each and every state. So, Eddie, pull up that article from TikTok, please. Please. Somebody said my little robot, what a waste of space. It may be a waste of space, but it certainly saves me from scooping poop every day. I'm very excited about it. We love it. Somebody said Eddie won the lottery with marrying me, so because he didn't have to buy me Valentine's stuff. Eddie, did you not are you not gonna pull up this article? It's in I sent it to you. I literally sent it in that email. Eddie, look, I'm even gonna show it to you. It says da da da. I even emailed it to you. I sent it to you. Here it is. Woman does the math. It's on yourtango.com. See, Eddie? And he's going to pull it. Oh, here we go. See? Woman does the math on whether Gen Z is broke because they're lazy or boomers just had it way easier. And I'm going to spoiler alert. We're going to figure out the boomers had it easier.
Even compute. This is like the boomer mind cannot comprehend this.
Okay, the previous creator has her stitches off, but if you haven't seen her stuff already, she's one of my favorite creators on this app, and I think we need to talk about this because I'm a Gen Z who has boomer parents, and what she says is true. Boomers are stuck in the past so hard that they can't even comprehend that us, like Gen Z and millennials, it's not just that we're lazy and we don't want to work hard, it's that even if we work as hard as possible, we still can't afford to live right now. Hard work isn't enough anymore. And I hear these comments all the time as someone who's parents, friends are all that age. They think that we're all just lazy. And they refuse to realize that times have changed. It is not the same as when you were our age. Just to start, let's look at the rise of the average home value over the years versus the rise of the average household income as compared to when boomers were our age and able to easily afford rent. So boomers would have been our age sometime between the 70s and the late 80s here. So this is the average price of housing or a house at that time. And this is the average income of the household, right? Here it is now. Do you see the difference? Do you see how, yes, it was hard back then. It's just not even comparable. The second chart, I did steal from Madeline. Here's the average tuition for college, right? And the average full-time 40 hours a week job, which you can't even do in college. So I don't know why this is relevant, but here's when boomers existed. And here it is now. It stops at 2010 too. It's probably gone up since then. But now let's do the actual math to prove that you cannot budget in this economy. For argument's sake, I was making $20 an hour working 40 hours a week, right? That's twice what minimum wage is in my state. Let's just pretend everyone's making twice minimum wage for whatever reason, argument's sake. So you're making that much every 2 weeks, which here's the math. This is your take home after tax every month. So let's budget it, shall we? Average rent in my city for a one bedroom is about $2,000, but luckily I live in a shoebox. So after paying for parking, utilities, and all that, it's about $1,500. And yes, you need parking because you got to have a car to get to and from work. So now we're down to this. But then there's food. I only ate about 1.5 meals every day. So that was $20 for food a day because making meals for one person is expensive. 20 times 7 times 4 is $560. So knock that off of here. And we're down to $654. Sadly, we're not done. The average student loan cost in the country is about $300, so we'll say $300 off of that. Now we're down to $354. Luckily, insurance for cars in Minnesota is only $70 because you got to have a car to get to and from work every day. And thankfully, I drove a hybrid and I didn't do much driving outside of that, so I only had to fill up my tank twice a month, which was $50 roughly each time. Actually more, but we'll round down, so that's $100 as well. And now we're down to $184. But wait, I have medication that literally keeps me alive that I have to pay for every month. And now that I'm looking at the budget, I'm thinking that might be what we should cut out at this point. But for now, we'll pretend we want to keep going and knock another $50 off this. This is what we're at. But don't forget, we still need basic things like toilet paper, soap, tampons, things like that. So we'll just pretend that's only $50 a month. Woo! And now at this point, we're just praying we never need to go to the dentist or the doctor or replace any clothing or anything bad happens at all, like a flat tire. But wait, there's still more. Because these boomers promised us that it was possible to retire with this much money left at the end of every month. Okay, let's go do our basic retirement calculator. We're going to pretend we want to retire at the age of 67 because that's what they're trying to raise it to now. And I'm going to just pray that I pass at 88, even though every woman in my family has lived well into her 90s. Given that I can't budget in a doctor, this would probably be a good bet. According to those calculations, I need to be saving this much money per month in order to retire at that age. So we'll have to knock that off too. And that leaves us with, drumroll please, this much money in our bank account at the end of every month. Does anyone want to advise us on how to budget this? Because I'm thinking maybe taking out the life-saving medication. So no, boomers, it's not that we're not working hard. It's that we don't have any hope or money.
See what you guys are saying. Yes, she's whining. She has whining. Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Eddie? Okay, I'm hoping that you hear me. All right, let's be real though. I mean, this is the common narrative that if they just cut out avocado toast and quit getting their Starbucks and they'll be fine. There isn't enough Starbucks to make up $984. We're in a bad situation when it comes to younger people, and that's why we're seeing less younger people deciding to have children. We're seeing younger people, be more disgruntled, and they're whining, but they have some substance to why they're whining, and I know, listen, I have kids that are her age too. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, you have no idea. But I have to take myself out of the equation and step back and see it from their eyes. And there's a lot of hopelessness there. And I'm just hoping that we can find a way that we can all find hope for kids again, to want to, first of all, want to contribute to society in a positive way where it doesn't feel so desperate. And like things that used to make me scared to death, I was terrified of like a big nuclear explosion. I was terrified of quicksand. I was terrified. And these kids are like, they're terrified to go to school. Their mindset is completely different than ours was growing up. And I can see why they're frustrated and they're scared. They're genuinely scared. As much as it sounds like they're whining, they're afraid they're just not even going to be able to make it next month. Like, are they going to end up homeless? And it seems like every time they come up with a new idea, like, I'm going to rent a room out of my apartment so that way I can afford the rent, or I'm going to have a roommate or whatever, some law in the area says, no, you can't do that, So then, like, a lot of them are like, well, I'm just going to live in a van by the river, which used to be a joke to us, but they're genuinely using that as a way to find an affordable place to live. And I understand their frustration. And I'm hoping that in years coming up that we've come up with better affordable housing solutions. One of the most controversial statements I've ever made, which still blows my mind, is that everybody deserves an affordable place to live. And for some reason, that really fired people up, really made them mad. And I don't think that is a controversial statement. Everybody deserves to have an affordable place to live. It's crazy to me. Anyways, all right. So let's get some stuff there. Stockholder needs to give up on some wealth. I don't see that happening. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's corporate America. And I said this last week. I went on a tangent. Corporate America has really dug their claws into a lot of what we do every single day. They always were there, but it seems to be more prevalent than ever. CEOs have been making more money than they've ever made. And then in turn, they bring down our, like there's shrinkflation. So they charge more money and they give you less product. It seems to me like a lot of the things that I buy that I used to think were really good stuff, it's almost impossible to find something really good quality. Everything's built like junk and then it falls apart on you in a couple of years. There's no pride in building a lot of the things that we use, like refrigerators and washing machines and that kind of thing. Even cars today, like cars used to last more than, like, if you make it to 100,000 miles in a lot of cars, it's like, oh, wow, you really did a great job. But they used to last for like 200,000 miles. And now it's only if you get a Toyota or only if you get a Honda, does it last 100,000 miles. There's a problem with that. And now corporate America is buying as many houses that they can. That leaves less houses for the younger people to purchase themselves. And so that's causing them to not to be able to build that generational wealth that you have and security that you have when you own a home. So I can understand their frustration. Did they whine? Yes, but we all did when we were that age. We all whined. So, question, are real estate agents in all parties helping you buy or sell a home? Fiduciaries, can you talk about fiduciary responsibilities and things that we should look out for? So, here in the state of Louisiana, a fiduciary is just basically somebody that facilitates the paperwork. They do not facilitate anything with negotiations. They make sure that all the paperwork and all the lines are filled out with what each party has said that they want on those lines. They take that deal, they take that paperwork, and they send it over to the title company and make sure that everything is done and done correctly, so all the parties can meet at the closing table at the closing time. But once that's off to the title company, they're done with it. Because they were paid a flat rate. Usually they were paid a flat rate. There's no negotiations during the inspection periods. There's nothing like that. They don't negotiate any of that stuff on the behalf of the sellers or the buyers. They will fill out any kind of paperwork that needs to be done. And that they're just basically a secretary, but they're not giving you any kind of advice on protections for you as a buyer or a seller. They're just filling in lines for you. That's it. So just be aware of that. Like if you're hiring a real estate agent, they say, well, I'm just going to be a fiduciary. That means you're doing all those decisions. They're just filling out the lines. TJ says, question, thoughts on our USDA rural development loan? I love them. I really do. I think they're a great product, especially when you're getting in your very first home. You're going to be paying a lot less in closing costs. Now your payment's going to be a little bit more, but the USDA loans are fantastic. Rural development loans are very good. Almost every single first-time home buyer here that I've worked with usually gets that kind of loan. They're fantastic. I will tell you this though, they do take that process to get your home from under contract to close when you have a USDA loan takes a lot longer because you have two underwriting processes. You have like the regular underwriting process for the loan, but then you have the USDA underwriting department of all the things that they need before they close. So yeah, they're fantastic loans. I strongly suggest them. The field has a question. It says, do you think that we'll ever get back to the 28% rule? That the one where the roof over your head shouldn't cost more than your income. Yeah. I would love for that to be the case. That would be fantastic. It really would. If we get to that point, that means that the United States is in a pretty bad financial shape. It'd be great if they built enough homes that we could get to that point. But I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell. My crystal ball says it's fuzzy. It's hard to read. I don't know for sure. Ooh, and he's got this mysterious music going there. Jerry says, no Valentine's Day? You wouldn't accept chocolate for any reason? No, I just don't want Valentine's shaped chocolate. I will gladly do this. Now, if you want to go the day after Valentine's Day and you got the on sale candy, the Valentine's Day candy, the chocolate that was after the fact where it's on sale, hook a sister up. I will gladly take that Valentine's Day candy when it was on sale. Anna has a question. Says, how does one reach buyers that are out of the area, like in New York City? How do you reach buyers? Well, I would hope that if you're a real estate agent, I would hope that you would be marketing to everybody. Like I would hope that you would have a YouTube channel that you are using to market your listings outside of just New York. That's what I would hope you'd be doing. And I hope you would have a Facebook group as well, and a good business page where you can run ads. The field guy says, question, why are rents so high? They say it's because of the shortage, but I've been watching for a year. There seems to be no end of the amount of rentals out there. You know what's so crazy? So this is no joke. There's actually this guy on TikTok that's been showing this. He found out during the pandemic, he's the only one living in this apartment complex. And there's this conspiracy theory. And I always say with every conspiracy theory, there's always a shred of truth to it. But that there's a bunch of investors, foreign investors, that have bought up properties with no intention of ever having anybody live in them. that they intentionally keep them to make other properties remain high. So, like, let's just say they own an apartment building. They could say this section is for affordable housing, but they couldn't find any renters and they're having the hardest time. So they use it as a tax deduction because they couldn't find any renters. But so it didn't look so bad. They'd have a few renters in that building, but they couldn't fill up the entire building. So like I said, they can get a tax deduction. That's one thing they could do. Another thing that they do, I've seen condos, right? Where the condo company says they the homes are $120,000. Then they keep these other condos out of the buying pool, but they use it as a deduction for them because they're like, oh, it's a depreciating asset, so they use that for a deduction. You know, I do think that there's plenty of apartments out there. I just don't think they're willing to give them up because they're trying to keep the inflated rental price up as much as possible. You know, they don't want to give up that, you know, $2,700 that they've been getting in rent. So they rather have a house or an apartment sitting there vacant so they can take that as a loss on their taxes. You know, it's interesting. I don't know. I know that there's a lot of vacant properties out there, and not all vacant properties are doing this. A lot of people that have vacant properties, it's like, you know, maybe a family member passed away and they're just holding on to it, so they're not willing to do anything with that property. Another case is that they have them where they only live there for a few months out of the year, you know, so they have like several houses across the United States. Have to say that must be nice. But yeah, I think there is definitely some shadiness with some vacant properties. Eric has a question. What are your thoughts on Mantum Global Modular Home Companies invested by Bill Gates? I have not looked into that specific modular home company myself. I've not gone to their factory. I don't know anything other than what I've read. So I'm going to withhold my comments on them until I can actually sit down and actually talk to them and see their modular homes for myself. I'm going to say this. A lot of modular home companies that have come out in the last 3 to 4 years, they start off with a really good idea. They crowdfund a bunch of money, and then the homes never exist. There is one that has advertised all over Facebook, and they do very high pressure Zoom calls where they're just like, oh, you got to get in now. I mean, this is ground floor. I mean, it feels like some kind of MLM push. And if anybody's pushing you so hard to invest in their company, it's probably not true. If they have no physical product that you can actually see, feel, touch, that's in a backyard, it's just a house with a demo. It means nothing until they actually start putting those houses in neighborhoods on the ground for people to actually look at, touch, and smell, lick, whatever you want to do. It doesn't exist in my eyes. And that's pretty much true of all modular home companies, all of them, like every single one of them. If there's no product for you to physically look at, if they have no clients that have them in their backyard or front yard, wherever, they don't exist. They're just words on paper and a lot of fancy advertising. So this kid said, just saw an ad. Don't miss our special rate as low as 5.875, 6.2975 APR through the KBHS home loans. Any idea how they can do that? I would have to look at their terms. They might be doing like they have all these different loan packages, like a 2-1 buy down and la la la. They have all these different ways they can make a loan happen. It might be for one of their specific home builders that they're using, and it would be a brand new home. And again, they're doing buy downs for that, where the builder pays the buy down. So you just look into that. So how do I like my litter robot? I love it. I love it. I think it's great. Like I said, the fact that, first of all, this is so stupid. There's an app. I know every time when my cats poop. And not only that, the smell, like you don't smell it through the house. Litter boxes, I mean, cats cover up what they're supposed to do, but it takes some time before the smell leaves the area. But with the litter robot, I mean, it just seals it right off and you don't smell it. So I don't know. I like it. It may take up space. It might be a waste of space, but the location of where they're at is not an area that we're walking through all the time anyway. So I like them. And it uses less litter, a lot less litter. So yeah. Thank you, Michael. I'm glad you're enjoying the channel. Peter has a question. Will Ontario go down in price in 2024? I don't know. I'm here in the United States. I only really kind of study what's going on across the country. I don't know much about Canada, but I can have somebody from Canada come on to the channel. I've had that before. I've had a couple people from Canada come on here. It's funny to me though, because a lot of things that happen in Canada, it takes a while, but they end up happening here in the United States too. When it comes to like foreign investment, I mean, what was going on in Canada has happened here. And so all we had to do, and I showed it years ago, what was going on in Canada. Brad McCallum was my guest and we started talking about it. And sure enough, it's the same thing that's happened here. Corporate investors, foreign investors buying up the most affordable homes and turning them into rental properties. So good stuff. So it's good to see what other markets are doing. What's weird to me is that every single housing market is in almost every single country is going through the same exact problem. Australia has got it even worse. Got it even worse with the lack of inventory. Yeah. So I don't know what happened to Eddie. I think he got sick. It says, Michael Richards says, Kristina, you're 100% correct about shady dealings with companies in today's real estate market. Love the brilliance and wisdom that you display in your presentations. Thank you so much. I love talking. I enjoyed talking very much. All right, we got a question that came up here. It says, question, what do you think about CHFA first-time home buyer loans? It seems a little scammy. I don't know enough about those loans to make an opinion about them. I'll get a lender. You know what? I'll have a lender come on next week. I'll try to get a lender that I trust to come on next week that we could talk about it. Because I don't know enough about them to say if they're a good idea or not. Sometimes things on paper always look really good. And then of course, in actual real life, they're really not, or down the line, they end up spending a lot more in interest. And yeah, I don't have the answer for you for that. I would be lying if I did. TJ says USDA ruled direct loan 4.5% today. Low and very low income buyers, 0 down, no PMI since USDA is the lender. Is it really 4.5? Wow, they're usually higher. That's what. Something sounds fishy about that. I don't know. I don't know about that. So those programs don't last long, somebody said. Miriam Gammon says, thoughts on how the lawsuit regarding sellers paying buyers commissions will play out in the future. Oh, Mary, that's a good question. I just answered this earlier, but I'll go ahead and give you my thoughts on it. It's going to take some time before this all trickles down into actual practical terms of home sellers and home buyers, unless you're in that exact state where they lost the lawsuit. I just think that for now, you're going to see new addendums when it comes to commissions. There's going to be new sales contracts and how that's disclosed, and there's going to be more negotiations coming out for buyers agents. But we really don't know anything for sure because it only affects that one state. Now, there's going to be more lawsuits that have already been filed in states across the United States. And only time will tell what happens with that. All I know for sure is that the way we do real estate today is going to be changed by this forever. So that's those are my thoughts. It's nice to get a Facebook comment. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm actually on Facebook too. I have a Facebook business page. And if you're ever on Facebook, I have a Facebook business page and I post these live streams on Facebook. So it is nice to see somebody popped in on there from Facebook. Peter says, why is the Federal Reserve target to get to 2% inflation? Is it still stealing 2% of the purchasing power of every year? That's always the thing. They always want 2%. That's always been their target. Federal Reserve's target of inflation is rate is 2%, in part to stave off of deflation in an event that in the event of an economic economic downturn. Maintaining a healthy level of inflation could give the central bank additional room to lower interest rates when it has stimulated the economy. Yeah, that's why he always says the same thing, like tamper down, stimulate the 2%. He has this thing that he reads. Like, I don't know if you guys ever watched Jerome Powell. He has a statement that he reads, right? He reads this whole thing and it's a bunch of word salad. And you're trying to pick it apart and you're like, okay, how is this going to affect housing? And then you can take that whole entire statement and do this. Because the next thing out of his mouth is when he starts answering the questions to the reporters. And it's like, wait a minute, you just said in your statement here, well, he's like, well, I didn't really say that. I'm like, dude. So if you ever want to really watch stock markets in real time go crazy, it's the minute that man opens his mouth. Yeah, good old Jerome. Whenever he starts talking, when he talks off script, markets behave in a completely different way. Yep. So TJ has a question. Do you pay more a month because the interest rate is so low at 4.5 or versus 8%? I didn't know that something seems off about that interest rate for USDA being at 4.5%. I don't know what that is. That doesn't seem right to me. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. Brenda says, question, tiny homes might be the answer, but state zoning blocks may be many in time. Do you think it's greed or stupidity? Okay, so they are addressing it, believe it or not. The wheels of government are very slow, but there has been push from the current administration to open up a lot of areas that are just sitting there to allow for, first of all, manufactured housing and tiny homes. I don't think that human beings that have no choice should be stuffed into shoe boxes. I don't think there's anything wrong with the type of homes that were built in, after World War II, little 2-bedroom houses, little 2-bedroom brick or modular homes. But being forced in a 1-bedroom loft tiny home can really affect people's mental state if that's the only thing they can afford. I know it's like common in Japan and stuff, but that's just not the way things have been done. Maybe I'm being old fashioned with this, but zoning laws, when it comes to tiny homes, you're going to see it becoming more and more lax in areas because the government has given incentives for towns and cities to do that. And what those incentives means that they're going to get money. So they're more willing to look into it. But I don't know if tiny homes are the answer to the affordability crisis. It makes me nervous for people's mental health. Are you aware of the mortgage credit certification program? If so, can you explain it to the audience? And I think it would help to know if it's available. I do not know. Like, I'm not a mortgage lender. I'm a real estate agent. So I don't know all the programs that are out there. And you have to know too, that every state has their own mortgage programs. We have bond money here in the state of Louisiana that isn't available to other people in other states. So what is it, Eddie? Which state is it for? Oh, it is for Louisiana. See, I didn't even know this. It's a statewide program designed to assist first-time homebuyers, veterans, and low moderate income purchasers. A home being designated in areas homebuyers that use the MCC program take their federal tax credit up to 40% to the annual mortgage. I will have to ask, you know what we'll do? We'll ask Ryan. I don't know what you're doing, Eddie. Eddie's in the background. You guys don't know this. He's doing this. I'm reading it, Eddie. I'm reading it. He's funny. And it says, if you're rolling capital gains into another property, does that considered a cash buyer? Well, to the seller, it would be. To the tax people, it wouldn't be. So yeah, to the seller it is. To the seller it is. Anyways, well, listen, everybody, we're running up at 1 hour and 20 minutes. I know you want to get back to your Sunday. We are, I'm hopefully next week will be a nice calming week. I'm going to get a lender on here next week. I think that would really help because you guys seem to have a lot of lending questions. If you guys happen to need a real estate agent in your area, I happen to be connected with thousands across the country. All you have to do is go to my website, KristinaSmallhorn.com, and fill out one of the forms. Just hit one of the pink buttons. And then the other thing is if you're wanting to listen to this as a podcast, you can always go to, what is it called? Oh, just look up my name, Kristina Smallhorn, and then you'll see the podcast. Anywhere you want to find podcasts, that's where you'll find me. So Eddie's had to dip out. Do you know why Eddie dipped out? He's already gone. Do you know? And that's why you're not seeing the stuff on the screen. He's making us a deep fried turkey. He's making us a deep fried turkey. He had to go check on the turkey to make sure it was okay. So, all right, everybody, have a great weekend. Thank you so much. Be good. Stay out of trouble. Don't talk to strangers unless you really have to. And look both ways before crossing. And don't look up when it's raining. All right, everybody. So long. Bye.